There's nowhere to hide from the pain.
From the very beginning, when we were thinking about the movie, I had this idea that we would design this device that would get you in and out of this sort of dream world, and that we would use music as a tool to sort of project you in and out, and that the music itself would act as the sort of catalyst to change realities. And this idea of a girl dancing against her will, or being forced to do things against her will, and that being an escape, that was part of the design.
C'est votre premier scénario original. Tous vos films précédents étaient des adaptations ou des remakes. Pourquoi il vous a fallu si longtemps pour faire un film avec un scénario original, et d'où vous vient cette idée? Depuis combien de temps vous la portez? Et est-ce que vous pourriez dire que c'est votre film le plus personnel?
It took me a long time to make the film because I've been busy. That's one thing. It's odd because, you know, when we set out to make the movie, I thought that the experience would be one of, when the film was done, that I would feel like I had made this super personal film that was different from my other films. I guess the one thing that it revealed to me was that I've taken the other films that I've made, even though there may be adaptations, I have an incredibly personal sort of relationship with, in the same way, I guess, that I have a relationship with this film that I conceived out of my own head. It, as a project, I once it's born, I love it the same way as, say, Watchmen or 300 or, you know, any of the other movies I've made.
To get out. I'm gonna escape from here.
There's armed guards everywhere. And if Blue finds out, we're dead. We're already dead.
Très sincèrement, j'ai rarement entendu une bande originale aussi parfaite. Donc il y a par exemple Sweet Dreams de Eurythmics, Where is My Mind des Pixies, White Rabbit de Jefferson Airplane, Asleep des Smiths. Tous ces titres, quand même, font partie d'un certain champ lexical. Est-ce que c'était fait exprès?
Yeah, I think it is. You know, I love, you know, I like music in the movies. I really feel like the music and pictures, there's a magical thing when you put those things together. You can sort of achieve something that the pictures can't do alone. And in some ways, a piece of scored or a piece of like a song with lyrics, you know, somehow narrates a moment or an emotional feeling, or takes you to a place that, especially with a cover, that you have like a preconceived idea about what the song is, and maybe you bring your own sort of experiences to that moment, and it just gets richer. So the music was really carefully chosen, and actually while I was writing the movie, I had a bunch of the songs chosen, White Rabbit, for instance, and Army of Me, and what was the other one? Love is a Drug. Search and Destroy came before we shot, and then after we shot, we switched around a little bit. Here we would move songs around. For a while, we had at the very beginning of the movie, we had the Nine Inch Nails, the Hurt, and it's just a really difficult song. Sort of from a tempo standpoint, it really kind of like there's that long scratching part that it's really difficult to edit too.
White Rabbit, c'est une référence à Lewis Carroll, Alice au Pays des Merveilles, qui est une référence à laquelle on peut penser dans le film.
Yeah, I like especially the way that song, you know, is a psychedelic drug song about, you know, changing sort of perception and you know, your levels of consciousness and things of that nature. So I think that happens in the movie. So, you know, we thought it would be cool to have a song that sang about that.
To reach your own paradise, just let go.
What you're imagining right now?
You control this world.
Dans tous vos films, vous empruntez, ou en tout cas vous semblez vous inspirer de jeux vidéo, de bandes dessinées, de publicité éventuellement. Vous avez commencé par faire de la publicité. Est-ce que cette fusion des différents langages, de différents médias qui existent aujourd'hui, c'est quelque chose que vous recherchez en particulier? Est-ce que vous pensez que c'est le futur du cinéma, la nouvelle frontière du cinéma?
Yeah, I mean it's hard to sort of to dissect, you know, that at that level, sort of your aesthetic. You know, it's a very I feel like in an interesting way, when you look at the sort of video game world, you know, I'm at the point now where, you know, I might be borrowing from a video game that borrowed from a movie I made. So it's an interesting like weird circle that's happening.
Do you have an example?
Well, if you look at like, especially if you look at the cinematics, game cinematics for something like, I think that
300?
if you look at 300 and then you look at like, say the game cinematic for like Force Unleashed or something like that too, you really have, I mean, it's really difficult to look at those and not say like, okay.
You will need to find 5 items. The first is a map. Then fire. Then a knife. And a key. The 5th thing is a mystery.
Pour terminer sur la question des influences, moi je serais quand même curieux de savoir, parce que quand je vois vos films, je pense à John Milius éventuellement, devant 300. Est-ce que c'est des cinéastes qui sont importants pour vous? Et sinon, lesquels ont été importants ou sont encore importants, influents parmi ceux qui tournent des films aujourd'hui?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Sucker Punch is like a weird. It's definitely, you could feel the sort of. I really wanted to make the movie. I wanted the cinematic influences in the film to be sort of just below the surface where you feel it, you know, because I feel like because the movie sort of comments on genre, because the movie sort of has a sort of subversive, on some level, a subversive point of view towards genre, even though I love it, it also sort of shines a light on it at the same time. The filmmakers that inspire that, you know, you have to sort of acknowledge them, whether it's Paul Verhoeven or whether it's like, well, I mean, Kubrick, of course, but it's what's that?
David Cronenberg, maybe?
Cronenberg, of course, is massive, and Terry Gilliam, of course. I mean, this movie is very much influenced by Brazil, you know, in a huge way.
Alors, je sais que vous avez été très influencé par une revue quand vous étiez enfant ou adolescent qui s'appelait Heavy Metal. Également par les peintures de Frank Frazetta. Et puis aussi, j'ai lu, plus surprenant, mais finalement pas tant que ça quand on voit vos films, par la peinture classique française, et notamment David. Le peintre David qu'on peut voir au Louvre.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that we really... I went to art school in London, and I wanted to be a painter, and I was... Well, David was one of my favorites, but only because, you know, there is a sort of... in a weird way, you know, it's a pop culture... he's a pop culture artist, you know, and he's like, you know, whatever, Michael Bay. He's like the Michael Bay of French painters, I think. Maybe I'm crazy, but that's how I sort of see it. But you know, and so like, you know, what's that? It's true, yeah. And so, but there is a really sort of fantastic, beautiful, the sexiest propaganda kind of, which I find really intriguing. And I remember I was actually in the Louvre and we were looking at the Thermopylae painting, and I was with this tour guide, and I said, "Oh yeah," I made a movie of this painting. This was before 300 came out, and she goes, "Oh really? What's it like?" I go, "It looks just like this painting," and she goes, "I know, but what's the movie like?" I'm like really serious. It looks exactly like this painting. But anyway, I think that's you know, it's weird that, but you do go like full circle, like, you know, you have heavy metal and you have Frazetta and all those guys when you are in high school, and then you go into your college life and you say, no, it's time to like study the masters, and then you come back to it's just gonna happen.
to the basics of cinema.
Or not just the basics of your aesthetic, you know, like what forms your aesthetic, you know, what you like, you know, you can't get around that, you know. I think that's the fun. That's like what anyone who's like, you know, interested in making movies or images or anything like that, you know, I think it's always really important that you just like what you like, you know, because I think that's what makes the images unique and different and interesting, is that they go through you. You're like a prism, and all the things that you observe in the world and that you love, you're like, it comes through you in a way. If you judge it or if you try and examine it too carefully, you just fuck it up, you know, because it should be like it should be natural.
Begin your journey. It will set you free.
He knows what we're doing. It's the only way we can get out of here.
If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.